Hello and welcome to our special coverage this Sunday, where we bring you the latest stories shaping our world today. As Lebanon's ceasefire reaches its fifth day, Israeli-occupied forces continue striking southern Lebanon, violating the ceasefire terms. Meanwhile, Israel intensifies its bombing in the Gaza Strip, killing at least 15, including aid workers. We're going to start today with the latest in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
As the ceasefire reaches its fifth day, Israeli strikes continue targeting southern Lebanon. Israel's army has launched strikes inside Lebanon despite terms of the ceasefire and is restricting people from returning to their homes in parts of the south. Despite ceasefire terms indicating that Israel will not carry out offensive operations inside Lebanese territory, several incidents of Israel attacking within Lebanon have surfaced. Israel has also been trying to restrict people's movement in southern Lebanon, releasing a map with a zone marked in red, demanding that people from there not go home. The Washington Post has reported that Israeli strikes in Lebanon continued Saturday, despite a fragile ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah. The Israeli occupation forces claimed responsibility for a strike on military infrastructure near the Lebanon-Syria border in southwestern Lebanon. An Israeli attack on a vehicle in the Tyre district injured 3 people, including a child, while another strike near Syria wounded 1 person. The Israeli-occupied forces stated targeted rocket launches in the area. The ceasefire, which aims to end Lebanon's deadliest conflict in decades, calls for a halt to Israeli invasions and Hezbollah attacks for 60 days, with gradual Israeli occupation forces withdrawing and an expanded Lebanese army presence in the south. Despite the agreement, sporadic fire persisted, with both sides accusing each other of violations. During his visit to Washington, Lebanese Forces Executive Committee member Joseph Javali has met with United States officials at the White House and the State Department and research centers to discuss Lebanon's latest developments. Talks focused on U.S. efforts for a ceasefire, implementing UN Resolution 1701, and strengthening Lebanese state authority, especially in the south. Jabali emphasized the importance of keeping weapons with legitimate Lebanese forces and held discussions with U.S. Lebanese organizations and diplomats. Meanwhile, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has stated that Israel will not wait for any mechanism and will maintain its freedom to act militarily in Lebanon. Smotrich, in a message to officials in Lebanon, France, and the residents of northern Israel, emphasized that the primary objective of the military's actions is to eliminate any risks that may face Israel. That's as he described it. Now, joining us to explore these developments is Rabia El-Hebr, a political writer and researcher joining us from Beirut. Thanks for being on the program. How do these recent Israeli attacks challenge the hope, the narrative of a stable ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah?
Good evening. By the way, I'm a political science teacher, not a journalist. Thank you, first of all. Second, let me tell you, the ceasefire is unstable until now. Looking into the fragile situation in the south, we can see that the ceasefire is not unstable yet. We saw air raids today on the south of Lebanon. We are seeing a lot of drones monitoring the south and the Bekaa Valley since yesterday and days ago. Until today, it is a process where nothing happened. Only a ceasefire did not reach its end yet. I think that with the work of the monitoring team, which will start its activity by early next week, I think we will have a better situation. Maybe the head of the committee will interfere with the Israeli, and he was asked to interfere to put an end to all what the Israelis have been doing since the start up of the ceasefire last week.
So do you think that because the monitoring teams haven't started their work yet, as you mentioned, that Israel's taking advantage of that situation? And also, what does it mean for the credibility of the US brokered ceasefire agreement at the moment?
It means that the situation may escalate at any time. The situation is still very fragile, and the agreement should be enforced by activities on the ground. The Lebanese army should take more positions. The Israelis should withdraw from the south, from the still occupied areas where the Israeli did not start any activity of withdrawal from the south. The UN should know what is happening, should be aware of what is happening, and the UN and the Americans and the French.
And how might the countries doing the monitoring, you mentioned who they are, the US and France particularly, how do they, or how should they respond to the allegations of ceasefire violations?
They should respond through the Israeli side. They should have talks with the Israelis to stop what they are doing, and this should be done at once because the situation keeps on leading the ceasefire. This should stop at once. They should talk with the Israeli government to stop all activities against Lebanese villages, either in the south or in the Bekaa Valley, because the drones are still monitoring, and overflying the Bekaa Valley.
And how do you think, looking at it in broader terms, how do you think the situation...
The committee should take action at once. I don't know how they will take action, but within that, like that are based on intelligence information.
Okay. Looking at the broader situation, how does the situation in Lebanon reflect broader geopolitical tensions involving US interests and the Middle East? I think we're having a few problems with your line, but we're going to say thank you very much. Political science teacher Rabia El-Hebra joining us here. We apologize for some of the problems on the line. Now, from Lebanon's fragile ceasefire to Gaza's deepening crisis. Israeli military strikes have killed at least 15 Palestinians in Gaza as occupation forces continued bombardments across the enclave and demolished houses on its northern edge. In the central Gaza camp of Nuseirat, an Israeli airstrike killed 6 people in a house, while another attack killed 3 in a home in Gaza City. That's according to medics. Additionally, 2 children were killed when a missile struck a tent encampment in Qnews, located in the southern Gaza Strip. Palestinians claim that Israel's operations on the northern edge of the enclave are part of a plan to force evacuations and bombardments to create a buffer zone, an allegation that the army denies. And as Israel intensifies its bombing, aid workers have also been targeted. The charity World Central Kitchen has said it's pausing its operations in Gaza after a vehicle carrying its staff members was hit by an Israeli airstrike. Palestinian state-run news agency Wafa reported that 5 people were killed in the strike in Qnews, southern Gaza, with 3 of the WCK workers, including its director. Separately, British aid agency Save the Children said one of its staff members was also killed in Qnews. As a result of security concerns, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees has suspended its aid deliveries to Gaza, its chief announced on Sunday. UNRWA's head, Felipe Lazzarini, explained how the humanitarian operation had become unnecessarily impossible due to the ongoing siege, obstacles imposed by Israeli authorities, political decisions limiting aid, unsafe delivery routes, and targeting of local police. He urged Israel to ensure the uninterrupted flow of aid into Gaza and stressed that the country must refrain from attacking humanitarian workers. Now, to discuss the increasingly dire situation, we are joined by Mohammed Al-Maghbet, a director for the regional office of the Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor. Thank you very much for being here on Qnews with us. Could you tell us about the recent action that the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees have announced regarding aid deliveries to Gaza?
Well, UNRWA was clear about in their statement that it is unnecessarily impossible to deliver aid inside of Gaza because of the siege. This siege that is imposed by the Israeli military is making it very difficult to provide aid inside of Gaza, especially in the north, because they have blockaded the north entirely and cut it from all the global community. Other parts of Gaza also, they do unnecessary checkpoints, and they even turn back aid trucks just for very, let's call them silly reasons, that they are not written anywhere in any regulation that prohibits entering some aid, especially medical aid and food assistance.
So would you say, you say that they're turning back trucks for silly reasons. So would you say that this is a deliberate attempt to starve the people of Gaza?
Of course. this is a deliberate and systemic attempt to starve the people of Gaza, which goes under their general policy of genocide against Palestinian people inside of the Gaza Strip. Because there is nothing that justifies what the Israelis are doing in terms of preventing aid in all its types to enter Gaza, rather other than they want to inflict genocide and forcibly evacuate Palestinians outside of the Gaza Strip, while also making it inhabitable after the war.
Now, winter has arrived. Could you tell us what conditions people in Gaza are facing as the cold and rainy season begins?
Unfortunately, it's more severe than last year. This year, there is literally no gas or any type of oil that would help Gazans to get some sort of warming sources. In addition, there is no, of course, wood to use. So people are, burning their own material and stuff they have at their homes or in their tents to be able to provide warmth for their children. In addition, also add to that the severe cut of food assistance. This leads to, combined with cold and winter, this will lead to severe diseases, and more deaths will be recorded in Gaza because of starvation and the cold weather.
Yeah, from what you describe, of course, it is a dire and terrifyingly devastating situation. What are the potential long-term consequences of halting these aid deliveries for the population in Gaza?
Well, first is the diseases that could result from these circumstances that, again, Israel is creating. They're not natural circumstances. Israel is creating to inflict pain and to forcibly evacuate Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. In addition to having a higher number of deaths, plus there will be, since the destruction of homes and neighborhoods is still ongoing by the Israeli military, this will also lead to making the Gaza Strip inhabitable after the war.
And of course, there has been many reported attacks on aid workers. Are there measures that can be taken to ensure the safety of humanitarian workers in Gaza?
Well, the measures are already there. They just don't want to follow them, the Israeli military. And they are deliberately attacking. Like last year, they started with, let's say, they started targeting international organizations with the World Central Kitchen. But then after the condemnation statements, nothing happened. So Israel now is encouraged to do more of these crimes in order to cut all possible sources of nutrition for Palestinians.
You mentioned there that they've continued to do this, Israel, and nothing has happened. In what ways could international organizations put pressure on for Israel to adhere to humanitarian law?
Well, for starters, there should be, no country or state across the globe that refuses to implement the ICC warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant. They also should cooperate with the ICC with provide it with more evidence if they have it, and make their job easier. The Security Council is completely paralyzed because of the veto exercised by the U.S. Other than that, there is the International Court of Justice that is already issuing provisional measures, but Israel is not committing or complying with these measures. The responsibility to make Israel comply with these measures lies also within the Security Council, which already is paralyzed and will not issue anything that could force Israel to stop its genocide against the Palestinian people.
And what would you say are the key challenges that are faced by humanitarian organizations operating?
Well, the first thing is that all of them are living inside of Gaza, so they are experiencing the same circumstances as any other Palestinian inside of the Gaza Strip. Other challenges is that they are now made targets by the Israeli military, and we've seen the systemic targeting of aid workers and humanitarian assistance workers. Even medical workers have been targeted and systemically for over a year now, and nothing is happening. So in addition to the genocide circumstances they're living in, they're also being a target themselves to the Israeli military.
And could you describe for us the current state of healthcare facilities in Gaza? How are they managing to cope with the influx of casualties from the ongoing attacks?
Well, out of 36 hospitals inside the 80% of these hospitals are out of function completely. The rest functions, but not in their full capacity, as if it was the normal circumstances. How are they managing? Well, they are not managing. They are working with what they have. They don't even have anesthesia. This has been reported not just by Euromed, by many other organizations and UN agencies, that doctors and medical teams have operated on children and people without using any anesthesia. Also, there is no the medical supplies that are used for pregnant women are not also allowed. This is one of the silly conditions the Israelis are putting on aid. They are not allowing, for example, any medical supplies that are needed for pregnant women inside of Gaza. There is no military objective that could justify that also. So these medical facilities, let's call them, are operating in very harsh conditions. They are doing what they can with what they have, although there is much need for medical supplies, for even fuel to operate the generators for the hospital and all of that.
UN experts have expressed their alarm over allegations of human rights violations against Palestinian women and children. Of course, what you were just mentioning there about the inability to access healthcare for pregnant women would probably come under that. What do you make of this, and do you have any examples of these kind of human rights violations?
Well, there is nothing to make other than this is a textbook genocide, because, as I said, there is no military objective that justifies preventing medical supplies to enter the Gaza Strip. We have seen even operations by on amputations on children without anesthesia. These are many cases have been reported of doctors operating such operations. This all happening under the eyes of the global community, with only statements condemning Israel's practice, without showing any real, let's call it, provisions or measures that could prevent the Israelis efficiently from performing their genocide against Palestine.
Well, thank you very much, Mohammed Al-Magbat, for joining us here on Q News. Thank you very much for your input. That's all for our special coverage today here on Q News. But thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates.